Hey everybody, welcome back to the Maddox podcast. This is season 2, episode 3. Today we have our very special guest, Robert Ring, with us. He's one of our preferred lenders, and he's gonna sit here and talk to us about all this craziness with this dream program and the things that have been happening. We have our beautiful Amy here. She's feeling better. Lisa. Mr. Maddox is on the podcast again, and we got Peanut Gallery Katrina in the corner.
She's over in the corner, yeah, directing us.
The corner off screen over there, gonna just direct us and tell us to get in frame and such. But
so first thing let's do here is
talk about the wine. First thing we're gonna do is talk about the
Yeah.
wine, because I didn't do that first last time. So today we actually went on a nice little wine tour the other day, and we visited Quilt & Co., which is a tasting room in Napa, downtown Napa.
Grandson of the Camus family, right?
You know more about
John
it than I
Wagner.
do.
Yep.
Yes, grandson of the Camus family. So the wine that we have today is a nice Pinot Noir called
Clark and Telephone.
Clark and Telephone. We tasted a few Pinot Noirs the other day, and I think this one was our favorite.
So we did a tasting at Ruth's Chris a couple months ago, and this was one of the wines, and it was fabulous. So
I love this wine. This is a great wine.
I don't hate it. I don't love Pinot Noirs typically, but when we did the tasting the other day, this was my favorite, and I really like it.
Yeah.
It's because Pinot Noirs have been commercialized. Old school Pinots you'd probably like.
Maybe.
So a lot of Pinot Noirs,
like
I think this is an
peppery.
exception. This is a really good Pinot Noir.
This is really good.
But a lot of
Right.
Pinot Noirs are like light-bodied. They're more on the dry side. They've got a lot of beautiful complex flavors to them, but they're difficult to grow in certain regions. So like Willamette Valley Pinot Noirs, mid-California Pinot Noirs really have those original characteristics of a Pinot. A lot of the Pinots today, they add a lot of sugar to them. I think this is obviously a very good one. The Clark and Telephone by Belglass is one of my favorites, and it has been for years. But to get like a true original light-bodied, somewhat dry Pinot Noir is kind of rare. And so a lot of times what you'll taste is just a lot of sugar that's been added to a commercialized Pinot. And those are the Pinots that you buy at Safeway for like $20. That's not what we're drinking today, of course. But because it became so popular, that's what they had to do. It's like any wine that hits the shelf and then everybody talks about it, gets popular, and then like the following year vintages are not as good because they have to mass produce it. It's like Menage a Trois. Remember when Menage a Trois was all the rage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's like just not that great.
They don't even sell it at our Trader Joe's anymore.
It's
They
just
took it
not.
off the
It's
shelf.
not good anymore,
Yeah.
right? So
It used to be the best cheap wine ever.
yeah, I feel like maybe that's how Charles Shaw was when he first came on the market.
Changed a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$2 Chuck.
Yeah, $2 check. But no, I mean the Pinots are just hard to grow. Another wine that's similar to Pinots that is a little easier to get that true taste from is a Grenache, and those are becoming more popular in the Napa Valley.
Yeah.
So let me get this a
Look
taste.
at that. He knows a lot about financing and wine.
Well, I'm so glad. Well, he is the OG Calahafa guy, right? We just talked about
Thank
that.
you. Thank
Yes,
you.
Let's talk
Yes.
about that.
So
Well, we did because I've been doing Calahafa for years and years, like 7 years, and I do other down payment assistance programs through cities and counties and whatnot. I even worked with the city of Antioch to develop theirs because when they were developing it, it was going to be way too strict. And I said, you need to pass these messages along to your lawyers, because I worked with the city of Walnut Creek and got them to amend a couple of rules on their down payment assistance program because nobody had used it. And I called the housing director and I said, the reason nobody touches your money is because it's inaccessible. The guidelines are way too strict. You had to make less than a certain amount of money, but your debt to income ratio had to be like really low. And I said, you have to understand, like if somebody's making like $75,000 a year and you want them to have like a 33% debt to income ratio, they're not going to be able to buy a house in Walnut Creek. And they're like, oh, okay. And so, I was like, you just need to follow HUD guidelines and make it 43% across the board. That's Housing and Urban Development considers it affordable if your payment is below 43%. Some figures, I think HCD says like 33, but it's not realistic. And when you're buying a home in the Bay Area, nobody's staying under 33%. We're not in Kansas. These homes are not $99,000.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Okay,
I mean,
hold
give me a
on.
break.
Let's back up a little bit and explain what we're talking about. So on the last podcast, which didn't age well, we talked about this new dream program that was coming out, and it was the California Dream for All Appreciation Share program, where it was lending buyers 20% down so that they can use it either all towards the down payment, or they can use a portion of the down payment and then a portion towards closing costs. And it was basically bringing a ton of buyers back into the market. It was anticipated for months. They had a program not too long ago, I think it was last year, May to November, if I remember correctly, where it was something similar. They were offering 10% forgivable funds. This time it was 20%, but it was about double the funding. The last program at 10% lasted around 6 months. Everybody anticipated this one to be about the same. Simple math, double the funding, double the down payment, should last around 6 months. It lasted 8 days. It came and went so fast. from my personal experience, I had a few sellers that were waiting to put their homes on the market with this program, anticipation for this program. They were excited for all the buyers this would bring back in. We were talking about, what is this going to do? Is this going to create a bubble? What's going to happen when the program's here? What's going to happen when it goes? Are prices going to get inflated? We don't even have time to collect the data because it came and went in 8 days. There was 4 days that you could lock a loan that first week. We had Cesar Chavez Day on Friday, and then we had 4 days. The news broke on Thursday afternoon, like 2 weeks ago, I think it was now, almost. That Thursday afternoon that the funds were potentially running out by last Wednesday was going to be the last day to lock your rate. Or reserve the funds, I think, on Monday, locked by Tuesday. I know I scrambled on my listing side to move up the offer date. Friday morning, 11 a.m. or just around there, we get news that the system's down. Some loans are locked, some loans are not, and everybody was in a complete frenzy.
So real quick, I was just curious about the lock and all that stuff. How did that work exactly? Like when people locked, they had to have a specific property. Those funds were already allocated. Like what?
Yeah.
Was
so
that?
with Cal HFA, unless you work for Sierra Pacific, because I found out the Sierra Pacific funding can do Cal HFA loans in-house.
So maybe back up a little bit and explain to people, what's Cal HFA? Why is this?
The California Housing Finance Administration, it's a state-run program that uses state bonds to fund down payment assistance programs, which are then refunded when people sell or pay back those loans with interest. So there's no free lunch. The project makes money, and they're funded through state bonds. This is the basic nuts and bolts of it, right? So the process for reserving money is you would get a client into contract, you would upload their file to the Cal HFA system called MOS, and then you would select the program, you would click lock, and you have locked reserved funds. It's very simple. Unless I found out you work for Sierra Pacific, you can do everything in-house, which is cool. I didn't know that. But I'm not going to work for them anyways, even though that's cool. So it's like not enough, right? Not enough to work for them. Yeah. I used to know some people there and they left. So I will crap on any lender. I don't care. Unless they're my friend. So, it's interesting because they must have done a lot of the business, because when I look in the Cal HFA system, it tells you how many loans are in line, how many are reserved, et cetera. It's not that many. I mean, the day that it got zapped, there were 371 loans registered, and they should have been able to help around 2,500 people. So that either means that Sierra Pacific did all the other ones, or they just got overwhelmed with submissions and had to pause it until they could catch up and didn't give us the full story.
So that's kind of what I think too, and I know that on Friday, so the system, I was told, or we started getting news from different people posting that the system had gone down roughly around 11:15, I think, on Friday, and that they were getting a notice that the funds had all been reserved, which is crazy. We heard the day before, after hours almost, like 3:30, right, that it was going to be, the deadline was Monday to reserve, to lock by Wednesday, or until the funds run out, whichever is sooner. And obviously the funds ran out much sooner. But what I think might have happened, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that agents were going in there, because it's my understanding that you need to identify a property, but they don't make you upload the contract until
No,
later.
They don't. People could have done that. That's true.
So there was a couple of things that I've heard, and this is all just, whatever, hearsay, but I heard that they were locking with property addresses. I know I was approached by an agent that I had a buyer interested in her property that asked me, can you just give your lender the address and have them reserve, and we can figure out negotiations?
It's not a bad idea, honestly.
It's not a bad idea, but what I heard since then, so flash forward to maybe Tuesday, Wednesday of last week, is that I think it was Cheryl Silva with Cal HFA was saying that when the file is submitted to at the very end, you do it a week before, you have to submit the contract. Any contract that is not dated with all signatures by the 8th, I think it was, which is that Friday, is going to be rejected. So that means you can get past your financing contingency, you can get past, obviously, appraisal. You're at the tail end of this. You're submitting the final file.
God forbid a realtor backdate a contract.
No, who would do that? So, but that's what we're hearing, is that there could be some files that are going to be kicked out. So I'm wondering if there's going to be backlash. I'm wondering if they're going to try to bring the program back in some capacity if they do determine that there are funds left over. I mean, how do you do that?
I don't think it's coming back.
If there's a bulk of...
There was $300 million that got to put into the program. It's enough to help 2% of housing formations in the Bay Area. It's nothing. It's literally nothing.
Yeah, see, I heard it was $500 million.
No, they changed it.
Allocated through 23.
They changed it. They reduced it to 300, and then they said it won't be funded again. Yeah. They were going to fund it $500 million. They were set aside $1 billion.
I heard $1 billion, right?
And, yep, and they said no. So right after it came out, the trainers came out. They put on a big training in the Bay Area, and they said $300 million. It's been reduced to $300 million, and it won't be funded again. And the problem with the program is it was for everybody. So you could make like $300,000 and get 20% down at a very high purchase price, which is ridiculous. I mean, we're going to help people that are making $300,000. Excuse me, but they don't need help.
So
right?
Another,
how about set aside 1 month's salary and then these are your down payment?
Another interesting
ridiculous
thing that I heard, and I don't think that this was really accounted for or thought of, or at least I didn't think about it prior to going into this, was that people that were already in contract, who are already ratified, once this program was released on March 27th, they were then saying, oh, an extra 20% down, sure, I'll take it, and then converting while in escrow.
Yeah, that probably happened. Honestly, it's just not enough money, and it was too wide of a net cast. It was for everybody.
It
I mean,
was
literally
everybody.
everybody. I mean, I know tech CEOs that qualify for this thing, which is just crazy.
I didn't realize it was for everybody.
It's for everybody. There's no.
It's the California dream for
all.
all.
There was the county. It's a dream for everyone. Are you going to say that they can't dream, Matt?
But I thought there were income limits, though.
There are, but the county income limits in Contra Costa County are like $300,000. They're close to $300,000.
So it's based on the county.
Based on county, and the program last year, which was 10%. Honestly, it should have been 10% down, and it should have been for people that make 80% or less than the area median income. Which last year, and by the way, the area median income just went up a lot, all over because of the new numbers that were posted. So like now you can make $120,000 in a lot of cities in the Bay Area, and you're 80% AMI, which is great. It's phenomenal. So it still would have helped a ton of people, and they should have made it 10%, not 20, because 20% it's just not necessary.
I feel like that
was
a lot of money.
That was a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot
Even
of money.
if you made it 100% AMI, right? 100% area median, that's like 151,000, right? But to say like we're not going to tie it to AMI, you're just going to use our county loan limit, so you can make like $280-something thousand. It's probably more now. I haven't looked at it recently, and I mean it's just crazy. So many people can qualify for it.
I think that's what it was. I think that it was a majority of the buyers out there. It did bring a lot of buyers back into the market, and there were some people that missed the opportunity. It came and went so quickly.
Yeah.
I had a buyer at one of my open houses for a condo I had on the market, or have it on the market, and she was saying that let's say the second week, so Monday through Thursday is really what it lasted. On Monday they submitted offers. They had negotiated through the week. Thursday, that news broke. They were still in negotiations because they received 7 offers with the Dream program, that by the time the system crashed on Friday, they hadn't reached a decision because buyers were, it wasn't free money, but it was accessible money, and buyers were looking at it as so, and they were willing to be more competitive with their offers.
Sure.
And so it was going back and forth between 7 offers, and then the system crashed, the funds were reserved, and nobody got
It's a terribly thought out
house.
program. This is completely indicative of lawmakers across the country. They don't think about the unintended consequences of their actions. They just think that we're going to help everybody and cast a wide net and do great things, and it just flops and it's a big bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it
true.
sounded
Yeah.
good.
It's
and
true. It's absolutely true. The
Yeah,
law of
I-
unintended consequences is real, and lawmakers are completely oblivious to them and don't think through what they're doing. I mean, why would you create a down payment? Have you ever had somebody come to you that makes $300,000 going, Jason, I need down payment assistance,
No.
please help me?
No.
I mean, they don't talk like that, but I mean, never, ever.
No.
I
Yeah,
mean,
they're good.
Take your sign-on bonus, use it as a down payment,
Right.
tap into your retirement account. I mean, $300,000 is a ridiculous amount of money. I've never helped somebody make that much money get down payment assistance. I think the most highest income earners that I've ever used for down payment assistance was maybe, I think it was like 175, and it was last year, and I helped him buy like a high balance property in like Castro Valley around like 700,000 or 800,000. The most, right? Never have I ever had somebody making 300,000 say I need down payment assistance.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes total sense.
So let's talk about how this is now going to affect the housing market as we move forward. Interest rates are still, I would say, higher than what we're used to, but they're not abnormally high like they were. Where they're at today? Maybe
I mean, honestly, I'm still using Cal HFA for a lot of my clients, even if they don't need the down payment assistance, because you can use their base programs at 6.125% on a conventional loan, when on a lot of scenarios, those rates are like 0.5% higher. Now, you do pay 1.5%, but even, like with the buy down, a lot of times it's a very attractive program, and then I'll pair it with My Home, which is like 3 to 3.5% in assistance, so it covers the points that you charge, and it helps a little bit with the closing costs. And then they get a great rate, and then they don't shop me, and then they're happy because I got them this incredible interest rate, and it's amazing that they view 6.125 as an incredible interest rate.
Yeah.
I just love that.
Yeah.
It was really weird because it used to be Cal HFA was higher. I mean, and maybe that's just because you always use Cal HFA with the programs like ZIP that were based on higher interest rates, because you can go up to like 8% on Cal HFA on some of their programs. You can get really high up there. But I mean now you can. I mean that's a very attractive option.
Yeah. And no, and interest rates are higher than I think what we're used to from the pandemic market, right? But those were historically low. Those were incredibly low. And Now we're kind of back to a norm, I would say. But buyers do what they do best. They adapt, right? They realize, hey, it's probably not going to get any better soon. What is always probably going to happen?
They do what they do best. They get into debt and leverage themselves to the hilt. Sorry.
We're just a positive podcast
55% debt to income ratio. Check.
Hey, it's hard. The cost of living today is really, really challenging.
It definitely is. I mean, my payment on my HELOC went through the roof. I got a HELOC last year, and it was like 4%. And then it adjusts with the federal funds rate because it's tied to prime, and prime is over the federal funds rate. It's like 10% right now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, on like $250,000. The payment is stupid. Absolutely stupid.
Oh goodness.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I know.
I'm fine.
Drink up, Rob.
Some more.
Take a swig. Yeah, we have more. We can pour you some more. So what do we think this is going to do? The basic facts are that buyers are qualifying for kind of what would you consider the standard qualification price for a 2 healthy income household, 2 buyers qualifying? What are they qualifying at? I would probably say like the $650 range.
Yeah,
today.
I mean it just depends on like what are their jobs, how much money are they making? You know, if you've got a dual income household that's pulling in $250,000, yeah, they're probably like around 800.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
That's reasonable because I mean, think about it. Like an $800,000 purchase price without a 20% down payment, you're $5,000 to $6,000 a month, no questions, right? Easily, maybe more, depending on the program. That didn't used to be the case. 1.5 million, you know, back during the low rate era, you know, with 20% down was around like $5,000, $6,000, right?
Crazy.
Now we're down to like 800,000, and you're seeing some similar payments. So like, numbers have shifted a lot. But yeah, I mean, dual income households definitely have the strong. I think the people who need help the most, and this is where policymakers really need to zero in on, are single income households, single parent households, teachers, first responders, people that don't make a lot of money that serve us in the public square. Like Cal HFA used to have a program, and for teachers you'd get more money. Now they've just made it so everybody gets more money. So the My Home program, which gives you 3% or 3.5%, was limited to $12,000 unless you were a teacher in a public school system or a first responder. Then it had no cap, which was awesome. So you got all this extra money. So now people call me. I had a real estate agent call me yesterday. Are there programs specific for teachers? Yes, the My Home program. But just FYI, it's now for everybody. So it's, what's the point of that? I mean, most teachers are making between $60,000 and $90,000 a year, right? Tenured is on the higher end. So how are we going to help these people that are serving us in the public arena and getting paid nothing for it and have a lot of student debt buy a home? And this should really be the focus. We should not be looking at how can we help people that are making over $250,000 get access to free bond-funded money.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought that was crazy when they set out the limits. It was like 280.
Yeah.
280, and it's low income. Like,
Vote for Rob, I'll change it.
Okay.
That's
Vote
right.
for Rob. Well, a little plug here, if you're in the city of Concord, maybe you can vote for him again next
Maybe
year.
you can if I announce for re-election and
Maybe.
run.
Do it right
I
here
think-
and now
I
on the
think you
Maddox
will.
podcast.
I think you will.
Yeah.
This just in, Rob's running again.
My lawyers say that I can't make any formal announcement yet.
Well, Jamie says otherwise.
Jamie
She's
disagrees.
the expert.
Jamie disagrees.
Yeah.
This is the Jamie show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do we do? So, housing prices, what are we seeing? You guys have some listings out there where it's...
Well, let me add one more thing on the Cal HFA thing.
Okay.
So I had a whole bunch of people pre-approved for this Dream for All program, and I was fielding a dozen calls a day for this program, and I was putting on a housing seminar at the end of the month for this program. And I've converted everybody that I pre-approved for it into a regular Cal HFA program, and some of those people I have had them geared towards buying homes with ADUs. I'm always harping on that. I'm always saying you should buy a home with an ADU.
I agree.
Because if you make less than 80% of the area median income, which is now $121,000 in a lot of areas in the Bay Area, then you can use potential rent income from an ADU to help you qualify for more of a home. So I had a client yesterday. They were qualified for $395. They were qualified for $500 under the Dream for All program. Had to switch them. Regular Cal HFA $395, right? Teacher. His name is Peter. And we found a home with an ADU because it was falling out of contract. Somebody sent me this rescue deal, and I'm like, I don't think this deal is going to get rescued. These people don't likely qualify. We'll find out. So it's going to fall out. And I had this client. I said, I think this client's a great solution for this program. And they were able to qualify for $90,000 more because of this ADU, which, by the way, was only bringing in like $1,400 a month rent when market rents were closer to $2,000.
Right.
And they were still underneath the $121,000 with that money added in. So you take 75% of the potential rents on that property, unless it's rented, and you add it to their income. So it's a great way to help people qualify for more. And and big seller credit. So, and the thing is that low rate that was available for the Dream for All program is still available under some of the other down payment assistance programs. So I had another client come to me, and they were a fallout from the Dream program. And so, but they told my assistant, Jay Lee, they're like, yeah, well, I just want to make sure I can get a good rate. My last lender quoted me 6.125, and I was like, that sounds like a familiar rate. So I called the agent, and I was like, who quoted her 6.125? Oh, the Dream for All lender. I said, oh, okay, great. So it's not available anymore. But what I did is I just qualified her under the regular Cal HFA program, added in the My Home because it kind of covers the cost of Cal HFA, and I got her at 6.125. And she's putting like 15% down.
Nice.
So she doesn't really need it. But you know what I mean? It's like retention was great. So there's a lot of opportunities still to convert your clients back to regular down payment assistance program, local municipality funded, city and county funded programs. There's still a lot of opportunities. This is my whole point here. So
Okay, so that's good news to hear for buyers. I think that with everything that's been going on and this weather we've been having, how are you guys experiencing the market right now? It seems like our spring market that would have normally started maybe mid-February is just starting to kick off.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's been really, really slow. So what are you seeing activity-wise? I know personally I have a couple of listings that have been just kind of waiting, and we're pretty much ready to go at any given time now, but we're still kind of waiting for a few things to close off to see where these comps will come in, because we don't have any. I mean, I can't even run a CMA in a lot of situations because there's just no data to pull from. The data is, over 6 months old, and that was a completely different market. We were in, this time last year, we were in an absolutely different market. Prices have come down in some areas anywhere from 15 to 20%, I think is what we've been saying. Could be more, could be less, depending on the house, but
I would just say time adjust for it.
time adjust.
When you pull all your comps together, do zip code or census tract time adjustments. So like pull an area and see how it's risen or fallen over that time period, and do a time adjustment for that specific comp.
So just take the percentage, like the median percentage, and then just...
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I pull comps all the time to help lenders and clients figure out what a good offer price is. And I'll cross-check some CMAs, and I just use Zillow, not to plug them, but you can just go closed homes in a radius that fit a certain criteria, past 60, 90, 120 days or 12 months, and then I pick the ones that I want, I see when they closed, and then I will time adjust to current market for them, and I'll say, hey, based on this, I think that maybe I'll give my opinion of what a good value is for the home.
And a lot of appraisers are doing that right now. I've noticed that some appraisers are doing a market condition adjustment. Am I having a stroke? Market condition adjustments or time adjustments.
Have more wine.
It's a lack of wine in my system.
Well, those are two different. So that brings up an interesting point. Those are two different things. So market condition adjustment is like a declining market. So you could say that the market's now declining, so these comps are not as relevant. And a time adjustment is specific to a comp. So if you use a comp from like November of last year, you're going to time adjust it down or up based on what the market's doing. But there is, and the reason I bring this up is because one of the rescue deals that was just sent to me was like a stated income 10% down program. But certain areas of Oakland have seen like an 11% decline since last year in home values. And so the lender said, because in the market adjustment section, the appraiser said that it's a declining market and it's come down 11%. We're going to require 15% down, and blew up their deal. And they said it to me. But I don't have a 10% down stated income program, so it didn't really work.
So what would your advice to buyers be? Because I personally think that prices are still, I wouldn't say low, but we're still adjusting, right, from where the market was last year. And if a buyer can qualify today, there's just no time like the present. I know we say it time and time again. It probably sounds like sales speak, but I truly believe there's no time like the present. What do you think the future of the market is? What do you think is good advice for
It's
a
going to
buyer
go up
today?
because, I mean, it's in my opinion, it's a strong investment because there's a scarcity, just like gold used to be. Gold is no longer scarce. There was a surplus of gold starting in 2018. So when people say, hey, there's inflation by precious metals, that's stupid today, right? But same with real estate. Real estate in the Bay Area. Now, this is not like other areas in the country. There's certain parts of Texas where they built too many houses compared to housing formations. So they don't have a lack of inventory. They have a surplus in some areas. And it also depends on like what's on the market can also control, inventory surplus or scarcity. But like in the Bay Area, we're like 20 plus years of not adding enough homes to the market to meet housing formations. So we have a huge scarcity of homes compared to demand. So it's of course it's a great thing to do. And if you're paying $3,000 a month in rent, you have a 100% interest only payment of $36,000 a year.
Right.
I mean, every 9 years that's $300,000. So I mean, it just makes sense. I always say, picture it like this: there's a train, and it's going to take you to the promised land, right? There's rich people on that train, right?
Yeah.
If you can get on that train, you need to get on that train. And it may not look sexy in the car that you get on when you first get on that train, but I guarantee you that if you get on that train, you ride that train, baby.
You ride it to the promised land.
Ride that train to the promised land. You're gonna do well. You're gonna come to the land flowing with milk and honey. No, it's serious. It's serious. Like,
yeah, that's
you know,
true.
as soon as you buy a home, you're putting money back into your own pocket.
It's true.
I mean, you're paying your landlords, unless you live with your parents in the basement. I mean, even then, you're not making
100%.
money.
No, we were just talking about Jamie's condo. She's selling right now for a client that you got her in there, and now she's selling. And you know, if you think about it, she was paid to live there for the last 2-3 years.
3 years, yeah.
3 years.
Yeah, I mean, it always comes down to two things: cash flow and liquidity, right? Like how much money do you have in your pocket, and how much money is coming into your pocket every month and out. So if you can afford a payment, if you can qualify for a loan, and you have the money, do it. Right? Now, don't sit on the sidelines. I talked to a pair of clients right now. They have like over $50,000 saved. They make almost $200,000 a year. They hardly have any debt. And they were on the fence about applying for the Dream for All program. And then I called them. I was like, it's running out. Apply now. And
they missed it, right?
And they missed it. And now we're trying to reinvigorate them to jump on the bandwagon and you know, get into a home, you know, just with the normal way. And they can, but they're nervous about it. They're hesitant. And this is probably more of a psychological thing. But at the end of the day, if you look at it, it's a no-brainer. I mean, they can afford the payment. They're going to build equity. They're going to stop paying rent. I mean, you got to think about it. Not only are you not paying, $30,000 to $40,000 a year in rent, but then you're building equity. So you don't just get rid of a negative, you add a positive. So the difference between that is really probably like $50,000 or $60,000 a year when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if you take an income property, like let's say you have a rental property, it's vacant, right? And it constantly has problems and it never has tenants, and you're dumping money into it to fix stuff. And then all of a sudden you turn it around and it's generating $5,000 a month. So it was costing you $5,000 a month, now it's generating $5,000 a month. So what's the difference? $10,000 a month. Right?
Right.
People don't conceptualize this way.
Yeah.
But that's how powerful owning real estate is. And so when people are on the fence about buying in a market where there's a scarcity, they're not making more dirt, they're not building near enough homes to meet the demand, you're going to buy something that everybody wants.
Right.
You should do that if you can.
Well, it's a tale old as time. I hear buyers say all the time, I'm just going to wait and see what happens.
I know.
Yes.
I hear that so much.
I'm just going to wait and see what
Yeah.
happens. You know, I'm going to wait to see if prices come down. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times people say it to me, and it's almost hard not to laugh in their face. Not because I'm a jerk, but it's just like, when is that proven to work for anybody?
Never.
We might have small ebbs and flows here and there. You might have spring versus summer, and July is a terrible time to list, and prices, people are vacationing. But come on, prices always bounce back, especially here in the Bay Area. They're going to come back. The best time to buy was 10 years ago. The best time after that was 9. Like, it just does its
Can you imagine a jerk realtor? You go into Jamie's office as a first-time home buyer and you tell him your hesitations, and then she laughs at you. What an idiot. These plebeians.
Or stupid. No.
No, you're totally right.
No,
But so,
never. But it's just like, it's obviously we do this every day and we know and we understand. But it's just amazing to me how many people just are so scared and don't understand and don't realize.
Well, that's what it
the
is. They're
benefits.
scared because they don't know.
You just it's
the
it's
unknown
the fear
is
of the
scary.
unknown. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I can see it. It's a brand now. People want to use you because they're going to get roasted. Jamie the jerk. Can you please roast me into buying a house?
She does roast people.
Listen here, you idiots.
I'm a great agent, okay? Don't ask my friends and family their opinions.
Yeah.
But when it comes to agents,
she is
I'm
agreed.
I'm
very
going to get you a
kind.
house, and if you don't trust me...
No, I am a hand holder, but I do give clients sometimes the necessary push that they need. I will never force them into anything. I will never pressure anybody into anything. I've talked more people out of homes than I have into them. I've talked even sellers out of selling their homes before.
No, you're great at what you do. I'm making a
doesn't do
joke.
any good for me, but you know, sometimes people need a little reality check and to realize, hey, this is a good decision for you. I'm not just saying it because I'm trying to sell a house. There's a ton of people out there I can sell homes to.
They may not want to hear it, but it's
They
going to be
may
the
not want to
truth.
hear
So
it.
right.
a
but
lot
they
of
do.
realtors
Need to.
watch this podcast, right?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Our fan base could be from Zimbabwe for all I know. I don't know.
Well, let's send a message to the Zimbabweans. So when you're talking to your client and they say things like, I think the market's going to crash. I'm not sure that I want to buy right now. I just want to see what happens. Like, they give all these indecisive, signals. You should immediately picture a big old fence with a platform on the top and somebody sitting right on the top of it, and that's your client. And the reason
Right.
they're sitting there is because they don't have enough information that's compelling to make them make a decision, either off or on, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not deciding not to buy, but they're also not deciding to buy. So they don't have enough information. One of my very good friends is a master neurolinguistic programmer. He's taken the course and he's got a master certification in neurolinguistic programming. He said this is a key. This should trigger in your mind anytime somebody says to you, "I'm not sure, the sky is falling, what happens if the market crashes, blah blah blah." They don't have enough information to make an informed decision, and you just need to give them more information.
Right.
And one of the ways that you can do this is why I asked if realtors are watching, because I think that it's important for us to know how are we going to engage our clients on these sorts of topics, because we hear them all the time, are to ask probing, open-ended questions. So what's an open-ended question? Just one that doesn't elicit a yes or no answer. What's probing? Get them to discuss why is it that they're on the fence, and then address those objections. A lot of people forget that we are salespeople, right? Now, keep in mind, we're doing what's best for our clients, but we need to overcome objections. And when you hear certain words like this, like we're not sure what's going on, blah, 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 you need to imagine they're sitting on a pile of objections that you need to pull out of them and help them overcome. And when you overcome those objections, they might go, great, now is not the right time for me to buy.
Yeah.
Or, more often than not, they'll probably say something like, well, that sounds right. Yeah, I do need to buy. And that's when you know you've helped them get to the right. So when somebody says, yeah, that sounds right, you've gotten them to the point where they go, okay, they see the light, right?
Yeah.
They know what it's like to be on that nice, beautiful train going to
where the milk and honey is.
Promised land.
Flowing with milk and honey.
Flowing with milk and honey.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's true. We are professionals. We do this every day. We're not giving you advice just to give it. We know these are things that we've tested. We've been through multiple markets. We've seen it time and time again. And we're giving you the best guidance that we possibly can. Where, yes, we're salespeople, but we're not just here to sell you anything. We're trying to help
but
you.
I mean, a good salesperson helps address a client's concerns and objections, even if the client doesn't know what those objections are, right? So when you're asking these probing, open-ended questions, what are you concerned about in the current market? You're going to help them vocalize what they're thinking about. And how many times do people have, irrational, illogical objections to things that they've never vocalized?
9
They're just
times
sitting,
out of 10.
They're taking up rent-free space in their head, and then
Right.
they put it out there in the ether, and then you can go, oh, let's talk about that. You're concerned about the market crashing, so you buying a home, then the value's plummeting. Well, let's discuss this. Most people own their home for 5 to 7 years, and there's reasons for that. You get tax benefits for owning it for a while, but this is just the statistical average. And if you do that, you're definitely going to make money, because you can just draw a line at any point in time, maybe excluding the 2008 market crash, once in a 100-year crash, and you go, people have made money by owning for 5 to 7 years. And so what's the most important factor? They're looking at, is my value going to plummet? No, the most important factor is, does it meet your needs and your family's needs?
Right.
And can you afford the monthly payment? If those two things, check the box, then you're going to be in a good situation. So they need to vocalize these things so they can hear them, say them out loud. Because sometimes people say them out loud and go, oh, I realize my objection doesn't hold much weight. And they might just get over it on their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we say it to buyers all the time. It's a right time if it's the right time for you.
Right,
if you're
exactly.
in a place to where, you said, can't afford your payment, and it makes sense for you, it's not a bad time.
What would it take to make you feel comfortable to purchase a home? Well, I need a house that's blue and has 7 windows. Oh, okay, great. Right? Objection you didn't know was there.
Yeah.
But no, you really, you're going to probe questions out of them. And then when they won't shut up, you ask closed-ended questions and tell them you'll see them later. This is a great sales dialogue, right? Open up with open-ended questions, get them talking, get to the point where you've overcome enough objections to where they're agreeing and they're seeing, what is best for them, whether that's to move forward or not, and then dial it down with closed-ended questions and set an appointment to follow up with them.
Right.
For anybody watching that wants to become a better salesperson.
We cover it all in here.
We do.
Well, I think we've touched on a lot of great topics today, kind of bringing people up to speed with what's going on with the housing market, what happened to that program that came and went so fast, people didn't even know about it. And I know I'm hopeful for what's to come. Obviously we kind of take everything in stride and learn as we go, but I think the market is starting to finally show itself. We're seeing inventory hit. We're seeing more buyers come out. I think the most important thing is for buyers to know that just because that program went away, you can still buy a house. There's still options out there for you. You can probably still qualify. It's the amount of people that aren't even willing to try because they're just afraid. What if I can't? But what if you can't? We can come up with a plan to help you be ready.
Absolutely.
There's always a way. There is a way. You can eventually. And I can say from personal experience, there's not a better feeling than being a homeowner for many reasons. But just to know that you're coming home to something that's yours every day is just really, truly
Even when the water heater
Financial
breaks.
security.
Even when the water heater breaks.
Even when the pipes
it's your
leak.
water heater. You can't call the landlord, but things happen. But
No, it is. It's super gratifying. It's
It is.
really incredible to be a homeowner, and you feel grounded. You're never concerned about people kicking you out of your home.
Right.
You
Right.
just love the idea that your home goes up in value when Zillow emails you 17 times a day. You know what I mean? It's incredible.
This is not a Zillow podcast, by the way.
No, it's not.
It's not.
And people talk about their dream home. This is how you get your dream home: is you get in the game, you start buying. When we talk about the promised land, a lot of people that are nearing retirement, when they bought their first home early on and didn't wait, they sold that home and they bought another one. They sold that home and they bought another one, and it went through this cycle. And then you see them at 60, 65, 70, whatever it is, and then they're living in their dream home. Your dream home is not a 1,500 square foot rancher built in 1956. Okay, it's your first home.
Yeah,
Even if it's beautiful.
That's the most important part. I
Yeah.
think people are going out there expecting, oh, I want my dream home. This
Yeah,
isn't your dream
that's
home.
right.
It's the game of life. You take stepping stones to
right.
eventually get what you want. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you two for a minute because you guys had some really interesting homes on the market several months ago that I emailed you a bunch of numbers and analysis
We
on.
always have something.
You had these like
Never
multi-units.
a
Tell us
dull
about
moment.
those multi-units. How did that process go? What does it look like for an investor that wants to buy in that area? Can you kind of give us the 411 on that?
Well, one of them's closed. One of them closed.
Oh, well, one of those, right.
Yeah.
I thought they had to
liked
sell
it.
together. Didn't they have to sell together?
They didn't have to, but the seller really wanted them to sell together.
Yeah.
But yeah, one closed, and at this point
That's
now,
a big woohoo for you
That
guys.
is, yeah.
Congratulations.
well, we have the same buyer, the same agent in on the
Oh, cool.
second
Right on.
building, and that one they now have 5 buyers' names on the deal. But yeah, that is that one's
5 buyers.
5 buyers.
Holy
It's
cow.
it's lined up to close.
And how many units?
3.
And the other one was 4?
Yes.
Cool. And what were the price points, and how did they look from your perspective as investments?
Oh,
Good. I mean, the numbers needed a little tweaking on the triplex.
Yeah.
But overall, the properties were in really good condition, lovingly maintained, good solid tenants. Richmond is rent control, so that does kind of make it a little more.
Does that mean like 3% annual increases is the limit, or what?
I think it's 3. Yeah.
And just
Yeah,
cause
it's not
eviction?
quite
Is it
3.
it's a 3 now?
3.
I don't think it's quite 3.
I
I
thought it
think
was
it's
higher.
a little bit less.
And then just cause
well,
eviction, so you can't get
conflicting.
people
I
out.
thought it was 3.
I thought it
you
was
have to buy 'em
5.
out.
I think
Buy
I-
it out.
Five.
So the key in rent controlled
I think I
areas
went
is
up
you
5%.
have to raise the rents every year at the absolute limit.
Yes,
that you
you
can.
do.
If you don't do that, you're out
And
of
Correct.
one
screwed.
unit, they hadn't raised the rent at
That's the
all.
problem. This is the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what a lot of owners don't think too is that, there, yes, you can be a nice owner and not raise your people's rent, but when you go to sell, you're going to have a really
Correct,
hard
right.
time selling because
Yeah.
now your tenants are paying, 2005 pricing in 2023, and it's
Right.
like, I've never gone up. It's a
It's
sweet
the biggest pitfall, isn't it?
person.
This is the second year that we've done multi-units that have had such low pricing that it's difficult to
Yeah.
sell because of that.
And the sellers are trying to be sweet and nice, and they love their tenants, and they don't want to, kick them out or anything like that. But it's like they're doing themselves so much harm because
Yeah.
the value drops in that property because it can't appraise.
Well, this is another thing. When you go to sell or buy a multi-unit and you're looking at comps, you need to get detailed information from a real estate agent, broker, appraiser, etc., as to whether or not the comps that you're looking at were rent controlled. Because if they are severely undervalued, I remember one time I had a $500,000 fourplex that I was trying to get a deal worked out on in Berkeley, in
Wow.
2017. Why? Because they had all these like one guy was paying like $500 a month in rent.
That's
it
crazy.
affects the value that much. So it should have been like 2.5 million.
Right.
Yeah.
So not only is there the money factor in it, what the tenants are paying, but also the fact that there may be senior tenants in there and you just can't move them out.
No, you can't.
There's not just cause. If there are children in the property, if they've lived there more than 10 years, there's a lot of
if
ifs.
you have disability,
So you guys
yeah, it goes. It's
I've sort of gotten a master class on multi-unit investing in the Richmond area, I would imagine, through your...
I've owned investment properties,
Yeah.
apartment buildings in Richmond.
Oh, you have?
For years and years
Yeah.
and years.
So you're giving the master class.
That's
And
what
we're here
they
for
mean.
it.
That's right.
That's
We're
awesome.
here for it.
Very cool.
Well, I think that.
How are we doing on time?
I think that about brings us to the end. I think we've covered everything we need to cover for today, and I hope that everybody walks away kind of feeling like they know what's going on in the market, and with some hope to know that it's always a good time to buy a house as long as it's good for you. We have a great lender that can qualify you here. Obviously, there's a lot of options out there. It's very important to work with somebody who knows your options, right? To
Absolutely,
know
yeah.
that you don't have to have 20% down to buy a house. If you
No.
do, that's great, but can be a lot of options out there for you. And, you know, our goal is to just help everybody live the American dream.
That's right.
Own a home. There's really nothing better, and there's no better way to beat inflation than being a homeowner.
That's right.
Cost of
Correct.
living is going to keep going up, and so
100%.
do your home prices.
Stop
Right.
buying gold, start buying homes.
It's
Thanks,
true.
Rob, so much for stopping by. And
Yeah.
Of course. Thanks for having me. This is great. I love drinking
Thanks.
wine.
I
on
know.
a
Sorry, your
know.
glass
Tuesday
ran
morning.
out. Sorry, everybody's glass ran out. Wow.
I know.
Oh my
Well,
goodness.
We've got some more wine
There's
on the
some more
table.
wine, so yeah, drink
This
up.
party's going to keep going.
It will keep going. Well,
Right.
thank you for being here with us
Yeah,
today.
of
Thank
course.
you, Amy. I'm so happy you're here. Lisa, thanks for being here. Jason, we have you. Thanks, Kat, for sitting in the corner.
The director over there.
And we hope to see you on the next episode of the Maddox Podcast. You can find us online at themaddoxpodcast.com, right?
It's MaddoxPodcast.com.
Yeah, bless
not
America. MaddoxPodcast.com, on Instagram at
So
Maddox Podcast.
the Maddox Podcast.
at the Maddox Podcast.
Oh, okay. You see where the confusion is. I'll get
Yeah.
this right one day. You can
Put it
find
on the
me
screen, right?
on Instagram
Yeah,
at realtor.jamie, at Jason David Maddox, at Sold by Amy and Lisa. Yeah.
I'm Robert
And
Ring Team on everything. Yeah.
at Robert Ring Team.
Yeah,
So
we'll have all this info in the description.
we'll link it, but it's always fun for me to plug.
It is.
So join us next time. We'll have new wine, we'll have new topics, and we'll just keeping you updated.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. That's good.